Welcome back to the Christian Capitalist Podcast, everybody. I'm Rich Sanders, your host, and delighted to be joined by my friend Chris Cumby today. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, you can follow us on social media with all the different channels and learn more about the Christian Capitalist movement of hard work and generous giving to the poor and needy in the name of Jesus by going to christiancapitalist.life. Chris, thank you for joining us today.
Always a pleasure.
You and I were joking last week that we are now 62 episodes in with publishing this one, and you have the claim to fame of being the only person to appear 3 times.
The trifecta.
Exactly.
I love it.
Nice job. But that's because you keep doing great things in the community, my man, so I'm so glad to see you back.
Thank you. Appreciate being here and, to your audience for listening in.
Tell us how things are getting started for you for this summer. It's a busy time of year after Memorial Day.
Summer is a crazy time, isn't it? I think they call May-December because it's like December, but,
right.
Really crazy. The kids are off school, so you've got to navigate that. But
how many kids do you have?
I have 4.
Wow.
Yeah,
and what's their age range?
Three boys, 1 girl, and my youngest is 11. I got a 12-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 32-year-old.
Wow, that's a nice spread.
I've been a dad for a long time.
And are going to be a dad the rest of your life if everything works out.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's great. So what's summer look like in the Cumby household?
Oh, whirlwind, lots of sports, lots of camps. Of course, business. I am busy, more busy this year than I ever have been, to tell you the truth.
Wow. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So are you... for those of y'all who are watching the podcast from other parts of the nation, Chris and I are neighbors. We live in the Northwest Florida area that we call the Emerald Coast because we have sugar white sand and the water appears emerald green. Folks come here from all over the nation to visit us during the summer, so we don't normally have bad traffic, and we normally don't have hour-long waits at things like restaurants, but we do this time of year.
We do.
Which means that a whole lot of people who live here go somewhere else when it's time to take a summer trip. So you got any trips planned this summer?
I do, a couple. I'll be going to Toronto, where I'm from. I'll be doing that. And then I'm off to Poland. My daughter's going to be going to university there at Krakow. So
no kidding. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What led her to choose Krakow for going to college?
She's definitely, she likes to travel for one. I mean, she's the most traveled kid I know. Probably comes from her mom and myself. We both love to travel. And she was in Costa Rica for all of high school. So she was immersed into Spanish. She knew a lick of Spanish, but now she's fully bilingual and, probably speaks better Spanish, as my friends say here when she came here, than their own kids and their Spanish. So
isn't that something?
Just incredible. So she was going to Poland because her mom's Polish, and she has an opportunity to go to that university, but she's going to be immersed right into it as well.
Isn't that cool?
And she's been studying Polish.
You're reading my mind.
Even though she definitely can, understand it because, her family spoke it around her when she was young. Mm-hmm. Learning it and speaking it and writing it are two, really different.
Right on.
So she's been in there grinding it. So
isn't that something cool? And so at the end of college, I guess she'll be fluent in English, Spanish, and Polish.
Yeah, probably
awesome.
Maybe something else as well.
And I have to say, as a former intelligence officer in the U.S. Navy, that's a skill set that's highly prized.
Hey, she's got a couple of passports as well, so who knows? Maybe she's going to be Jason Bourne.
I was just going to say, you reminded me of Jason Bourne. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Good. So you're going to get to go with her.
I get to go and check it out. Of course, I want to make sure everything is, from my point of view, safe.
Right.
But Poland's a great country, and I got a chance, probably about, I don't know how long it's been, but I traveled all of Poland for about a month. So
wow.
I got to really get in there. I love their food for sure.
That's really cool.
If you haven't had a Polish pierogi, you're missing out.
Luckily, we had good friends in Atlanta who were Polish and used to invite us every year to their church, which was Orthodox, for the pierogi festival. So,
well, then pierogies.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Good, awesome.
And great music and great people.
Of course.
Well, that's so cool, man. I'm glad you're going to get to go someplace, and both of those are going to be much cooler than Northwest Florida.
Yeah, well, you'd think. Toronto is actually pretty hot in the summertime.
So Chris, would you remind everybody, because we talked about this in your first meeting with us, what brought you to the U.S. from Canada?
You said it at the beginning. The white sands, soft as flour, white as sugar.
Right.
So the weather. I mean, it was time for me to start thinking about, getting older and just something new. Yeah. Toronto gets cold in the winter time, and I've had to bear that for a long time. So coming down here was a great relief, and I love the fact that in Northwest Florida you can still have a little bit of a winter, Yeah. And we got snow one year, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Right, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you are a dyed-in-the-wool entrepreneur, and I love that. It's one of the reasons that not only are you our first-time, three-time guest, but that you're my friend and that we get a chance to work together.
Sure.
What do you think? Because last time I was here, I was talking to David Costa, and this logo, for everybody who's watching on YouTube, this logo is the Costa Union Club, where we're hosting our interview today, and part of the podcast studio that is allowing us to have this in the interview in the first place.
Sure.
Where do you think you first got the notion that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Because I call it the entrepreneurial spirit, and some people develop it, some people are born with it, and some kind of both. What do you think about that?
I was 7. Yeah.
Wow.
I saw pop bottles in a garage at my friend's place, and I was collecting dust. And if anybody back then, it was glass pop bottles. I mean, and they were worth some money. And as a kid, I was like, why are they all sitting in there? Because I knew my parents used to bring them back. So I said to my dad, can you build I had a red wagon. So he built it up with some sides, and I was able to then go around the neighborhood, collect all their bottles, and then I'd bring it back and get the money for them, and I actually got paid a commission.
Isn't that cool?
They got $10, I got $2 or something like that.
Right.
So
because they would pay you to bring those glass bottles back, so that they didn't have to make new ones, right?
Yeah. So
isn't that cool?
And
kids today, that's called sustainability. In the old days, it was just called good business.
Absolutely. And I learned that really early because I found that if I can do that for someone and they can give me a commission, that's a good exchange. And that's really what led me to be a commission sales guy for, a good majority of my life.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Right. And then because those glass bottles did have such value, you took that money and were able to do other business-related things with it, presumably.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was here a few weeks ago talking to David Costa. He said his first business was in middle school, where he figured that 11, 12, 13-year-old kids love candy. He was going to figure out a way to get candy delivered to them. So he set up literally selling candy to kids in the neighborhood as a tweener, what we would call now. I just love that, man, because, well, you tell me, what inspired you and as a 7-year-old to say, you know what, I think I can make money out of that?
I don't know what it was that inspired me, but it was, the fact that, I come from a modest family. My parents didn't have a lot of money to spend on things, and I just felt like I needed to contribute. And, my dad said to me that if I wanted things that I could, go and work for it. So I was like, all right.
All right.
So I was fine with that. It's funny, if you tell a kid that, they'll probably listen.
Yeah.
Today is very different. Yeah. However, I do have, entrepreneur kids. They come to me with all kinds of ideas, and I, definitely encourage it. So.
Well, you're reading my mind. With 4 children, how do you talk about business with them and being an entrepreneur with them?
Well, they follow me around. They see me. My daughter, she is definitely an entrepreneur. She already does social media for a lot of companies, and she figured out, she's very creative and artistic, so it was easy for her to jump into that, area of business to help people. And she started with her family. We're all got businesses, so she started with us, and she started attracting other people into that. Yeah,
that's great.
My other 2 boys, they're young, so they just follow me around. I called them for a long time my sales and marketing team. So
that's great, sales and marketing.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, Chris, one of the things that the theme of the Christian capitalist movement is hard work and generous giving to the poor and needy. Right. And our slogan is, the more we make, the more we give.
Sure.
You and I have talked about this many times, especially for people who work on a commission, like salesmen, real estate agents, folks who work in that kind of business. That is a critical concept, because you can make next to nothing for a few months, and then all of a sudden hook a whale and you've got a big commission coming in.
For sure.
So how, as an entrepreneur from a very early age, Where did your thoughts about charity come in? Was that as early on, or did it come later? As you've told us before, when you appeared on the podcast, you start traveling the world and see how truly impoverished some of God's children are.
Yeah, I've given away a lot, because I made a lot when I was young. So that part of travel was bringing, money really to help people in different countries. So one of the things I used to do a lot is figure out what they needed, while I was there, because the only time you can really understand what they need is, being around them. And
put boots on the ground.
Have boots on the ground.
Right.
And for me, it was like a lot of it was just simple stuff, really. Books, they loved books. Of course, they loved candy. The children went crazy about,
Sure.
candy. So you learn really quickly. And if it was a cold climate as well, I'd do things to make sure, like every year in Toronto, for example, around the holiday season, I went to Walmart, picked up gloves, hats, blankets, scarves, and, made sure that the people on the streets, had that stuff. So
That's great.
that was my yearly annual thing to do in the cold climate. And then after I did that, I jumped on a plane every Christmas morning and I traveled. So my parents, I really didn't have like, a normal, let's call it holiday, tradition.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I did. My tradition was I got on a plane and I was flying out because I figured out really easily that, if you want to travel anywhere, Christmas Day is a great day to travel.
Absolutely.
So it was easy. I got there quickly. There was no hang-ups.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm in a different country.
And your parents didn't give you a hard time about leaving?
They
on
gave me a
Christmas?
hard time, but they eventually figured out that, that's just part of my, makeup and, who I am. So I did that for a very long time, especially, I did well when I was in my 30s. So it gave me the fortitude to, travel and figure things out. And, the beauty about travel is you get to see culture. People are good people. Like if you really look at it, we live in the day of social media, so we see a lot of stuff that is polarizing. Mm-hmm. But the reality is it's not anywhere near that, in some of the countries that you can travel. And I think that is probably manufactured in a lot of ways just because, they program you.
Yeah.
It's called TV programming for a reason, right?
Well said. That's right.
So,
it's so interesting, though, that especially that you traveled on Jesus' birthday. Because he told us that, and the apostles, as he was talking with them, that we will always have the poor. And so as someone who literally is a worldwide traveler, have you noticed themes about that, about how the poor are in so many ways different in different nations, but likewise the same? One of the reasons I ask you that is that I have found that no matter what country I'm in, no matter what community I'm in the United States, that I have found not only poor folks to be grateful when they have someone to give it to them, but also deeply faithful because they're grateful for what they have.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think we look at it from a perspective of finances, a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of like focusing on just finances to, consider people poor. Because what I did find is they're rich in spirit.
Right.
Rich in spirit. And so one of the things that I, try to teach people, just even in business, is we have spiritual capital, relationship capital, intelligent capital, physical capital, and financial capital is it's the bottom one.
Because if all those other things aren't aligned, that financial capital doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't. It's really superficial at some point. You might have a lot of money, but you might be, losing your spirit or, there's a lot of things that can happen with money for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the wrong altar for a lot of people. So
well, and I have found as a corporate lawyer and seeing, doing lots and lots of deals over 30 years almost, money changes people. And in some ways good, they get more benevolent, they get more generous, but in some ways it changes them in very ugly ways.
I might change that a little bit if you don't mind me challenging. I don't think it changes. I think it actually really brings out who they really are. Yeah.
Got a revelation.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's already inside of them, and money gives them the ability then to prolificate it, and that's who they really are. So I've seen it a lot of times as well. I've been in the corporate world for a very long time.
Yeah.
Money doesn't change people. It actually shows you who they are.
Like a bright light.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You are a bright light, my friend. And one of the reasons I wanted you to come onto the podcast this week is that you've started a new event and a new program here in our community, but one that I hope that folks who listen to you talk about it will try and replicate in other communities where they're listening to this. So tell us a little bit about networking with a cause.
No, listen, the day of social media, what we went through with COVID, I think analog is coming back. I honestly believe that the real capital in the future is going to be relationships, and we're seeing that happen now. Especially with the day of AI, it's here, and I think again people like to fearmonger, and people are going to lose their jobs and everything else. I think AI is a tool. I think social media is a tool, but I think most people want real connection. It's like why we're here at the Costa Unity Club is it allows people to gather.
And by the way, let's do a fist bump.
Yeah.
We're not avatars.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're not. We're real.
We're real.
But I think that's what people are looking for the most is connection, real connection. I did this event because I wanted to give back to community. I put on an annual event. There might be there's a reason to the madness for sure, because it's a way to get people in the room and then realize that, there's a lot of really great people here in the Panhandle, specifically in, Santa Rosa Beach, Destin, Panama City Beach. It's primarily where most people come from. I actually had some people come over from Pensacola, as well as Fort Walton Beach, and even as far as, I guess, what's past Panama City.
Tallahassee.
Yeah, so there's a couple people in Tallahassee that came already. So I just think that, the connection is really what people are looking for. So I wanted to do something that I can give back,
At
to
this
your point.
event, Chris, this is an
generously.
Awesome, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
Yes,
you're
give
fine.
back generously.
Yeah.
What do you think is the attraction? I mean, for those who aren't from Northwest Florida, what Chris just described is people driving a couple of hours to come to this Networking with a Cause event. We'll get into the details of it in just a second, but what do you think is the attraction to people? Aside from the whole, hey, I'm tired of being on social media, I want real connection. What brings the people in the room together to talk? I mean, it's not a specific industry, it's not a specific topic every week. What do you think's kind of drawing everyone?
It's the cookies, man. It's the cookies.
Amen.
No, just set that aside. They are good cookies.
Yeah, they are.
And I got to give a big shout out to Michael Carey, who owns Stock and Trade, because I had to sit down with him and I asked him if he would, sponsor that weekly. And, Taylor, who runs the shop at Stock and Brew, stays voluntarily in the evening on Tuesday, every Tuesday. He's the one that bakes the cookies. He gets the coffee. And, it's that stuff that I believe that people like to gather and break bread, if you want to call it. I had Chick-fil-A in. We had some Chick-fil-A sandwiches.
Right on.
We're going to have some pizza guys come in. We're going to have different. So I just figure it's a great way to bring a lot of restaurateurs in to highlight them, and they can bring all their great food. But that set aside, I think the biggest thing for people is expanding. As a young kid, I always remembered, one of my coaches said, just connect with people. And, I have over 8,000 people in my phone from way back.
Wow.
And I moved from Toronto 11 years ago. It's actually really close to the day I moved, like this time of year.
And that's up.
And yeah, I can tell, how long I've been here because my youngest, he was a baby, 16 weeks old.
Wow.
So now he's 11. So I know I've been here 11 years,
Right.
So he keeps the time for me for sure.
That's awesome.
But
it comes in handy, doesn't it? Rebecca and I,
Yeah.
Our oldest son is 26. He was born March 9th of 2000. That's how we know how long Y2K was ago.
There you go.
26 years.
There
we
you
all
go.
freaked out for no reason.
Right. And there you go. It's just programming.
Exactly.
Yeah, fear mongering. But the biggest thing I think that people want is, if especially in business, is you got to get to know people. And I'm a super connector. If I meet someone, it's really often that I'll be in a meeting later in the day, or later in the week, or maybe even later in the month, and all of a sudden it's someone I just met that does something that would help someone else. Mm-hmm. And I learned a long time ago, a lot of people do referrals, from a standpoint of, what's in it for me. Mm-hmm. The blessing that I get are from the blessings that I give. And that's the way I've always looked at it. And I got taught that a long time ago. And, I believe that, connections are our greatest gift. And, I can reach out to all 8,000 people and they'll remember me, on some level. Can I do that? Well, it's near impossible to do that, but I do keep in contact with a lot of people. Social media has made it really easy.
Sure.
Because I can put a message out. I do have a, active email list. I don't bombard people with that, but I do put a message out, several times a year just to, connect, because I have a lot of email addresses and people that I've met, year after year in different businesses. I was a consultant for 22 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's a really powerful email list there, my friend. So what you said earlier about how you connect people, and you have previously described yourself as a super connector of people before, but giving is a blessing. I want to focus on that for just a minute, because that's one of our core concepts of the Christian Capitalist movement. And in fact, Rebecca and I started, as part of this movement, started a nonprofit that's now tax exempt called Koinonia Mission. It's building a community, Greek word for community of faith. Koinonia Mission is building a community to then serve the poor and needy. We're finishing up our website this week, and the homepage is a stained glass window with St. Francis giving food to the poor, and it says, "It is by giving that we are blessed." I believe that that's part of who you are. How does that reflect in your business? Like, do you tell people, hey, when we do a deal together, that's going to benefit others? Or is that kind of baked in the cake for doing a deal with Chris Cumby?
I think it's just baked in the cake. Yeah. I just like to, help people. I come from good fabric. My parents would give you the shirt off their back to help you. And they're good maritimers. They're from Newfoundland. If anybody knows a good Newfie, then you'll know that they've got a great heart.
Oh,
and
awesome.
My parents have always just, they were great mentors. I just was around them giving all the time. Yeah. So,
That's cool.
They made dinner, for people. They've done all kinds of stuff in the community. So being around that, it's just part of my fabric for sure. I'm cut from that same cloth. And
so now you've got this networking with a cause event. Tell us a little bit about the specifics of it for those who are watching or listening to this who are here on the Emerald Coast.
Sure. Like what I noticed was you just got to start something. I didn't really have a plan necessarily. I wanted to have a event. I put one on every year, as you know. You spoke and handled a great panel, and I really appreciated that. It actually turned out really well.
I think so too.
It was great to see various people in different industries, and you did a great job of that. But I wanted to have something that we can regularly get around and weekly. If you keep it consistent, it's like do the right things consistently and long enough. And I believe that, that's when good things come out of it. So I really didn't have a plan. But I always encourage people, just start something, because the power is in the start. If you really think about it, the power is in the start. So for me, it was like, let's just get it going and see where it goes. So what laid on my heart from the Holy Spirit this week, which is funny because I'm like, who am I going to highlight tonight? Because that's what I wanted to do, is highlight local entrepreneurs, leaders, and people that are really doing good things in the community so that other people would know them. Obscurity is our biggest challenge, whether it's business or just personal. Obscurity is really, they don't know about you.
Right.
So the more people that know about you and what you're doing, the more that I think can impact, the people around you. So for me, it was like not a plan. And then it just hit me yesterday. Like, in fact, yesterday, I'm like sitting there going, who am I going to highlight this week? And I thought, well, dang, like I'm a coach. I coach business development and I help people with sales. I like being on the front lines. I like helping people make money. Who in business is not there to make money? Mm-hmm. Everybody is. Money is the heartbeat to every business. Right. So I'm like, what can I teach them tonight, just from my heart, that will show them that they can do this one thing, and if they do this one thing well, they will all make money. So I'm going to teach that tonight.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a spoiler to work?
No spoilers. No spoilers.
To folks who can't make the thing.
Well, probably this will be aired later, but I can give you the spoiler. Not enough people understand, the power of connection and referrals. In fact, no one really asks for referrals. Yeah. Like that's actually the easiest thing to do, but yet people don't do it in their business. So I'm going to show them how to do that properly. And I want to help people with their true potential, because I don't think enough people are hitting their true potential.
Amen.
And from my perspective, it's really easy to hit the true potential, but that always is a ladder to climb. Yep. Because once you get to one side, that top, and then you can go further. Yep. So it's always a push, but I like to get people to understand that it's all in your belief system. Yeah.
We need to get to that in just a second. Chris, I can't help but think at the first networking with a cause that I attended, I met a young woman who's in a sales role, and I asked her, "What's a good referral to you? How can I help you with your business?" And she just beamed. She's like, "No one's ever asked me that before." I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is what these kind of events are for, right?
For
just
sure.
talking about how we can build each other up. So what do you think then about where the Holy Spirit has guided you in this regard? What's your level up from this?
I just think that, the more people you can help, the more you're going to, experience some, really good things in your life as well. It's just been evident, in my walk, since, 2024, when I was it 2024? Yes. 2024, I got baptized, and I wanted to do it on my own account. My parents baptized me when I was a little baby. So I grew up as a Protestant Christian. We went to church. Eventually, I stopped going to church, and I did my own thing. I was truly a prodigal son. I know the way. I know what to do. I know, blah, blah, blah.
I got this all figured out.
I got it all figured out until I got humbled. But 2024 was like this, moment, of grace and mercy in my life. And it was just like, man, my heart just was like, God just wants my heart. And I went through a lot of things in my life that I could be a sour man. But I just had it laid on me that, keep your heart pure, help as many people as you can. And as Zig says, Zig Ziglar, that is, for those who don't know him, maybe the younger people. But if you help enough people get what they want, you'll always have, what you want in life. So for me, it was, how can I help people? That's actually, it's funny, you said, what kind of, referral is good for you? Well, I always ask the question, how can I help you? I truly want to know. When I ask that question, I truly want to know.
And expect a detailed answer.
Well,
right?
Or something that, it could be as easy as, like I said, I don't think enough people have the skill of sales. Skills, like sales is a survival skill. Yeah. And I teach that, how to survive in any economy, how you can go out there and build any business. But if you're building something you don't know how to sell, then that's the first place you have to start building up your skills.
Chris, it's so interesting you talk about this because you've been in sales a long time. And as you mentioned,
my whole life.
Yeah, most of that was commission-based. Have you seen a change in the generation behind you, or maybe two generations behind you?
Big time.
In the willingness of people to pursue commission-based compensation? And if so, what's that change look like?
Well, here's the thing I've seen in the last probably 2 decades. See this thing right here? It's the heaviest object for new salespeople. They don't know how to pick up the phone. They're high behind the text. They use email, social media, but they don't pick up the phone to call upon someone.
And some people don't even have phone numbers.
Yeah.
We were joking about that earlier today. Because when you're somebody from the 80s, right, or the 70s, the phone is the way that we communicate because it's a chance to talk, right? I've seen it a million times, whether it's by email or text. If you don't have the right way of phrasing things in the written word, for example, my accountant who's from the 60s and a terrific guy, but all his emails to me are in all caps. What does that mean? It means you're yelling at somebody, right? Unless you pick up the phone and talk to people they don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
you can't get tonality. You can't have an opportunity to, understand. I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions. As a sales guy, the biggest, skill that I've learned is actually to listen. Yeah.
And when you listen, what do you hear? Because it sounds like that's tied into the question you always ask, how can I help, right?
I just ask simple questions. What are you trying to do? It's my favorite question. As a consultant, as a salesperson, whether it was a service or some product that I was selling is, I needed to understand what someone's trying to accomplish. That's my first question. What are you trying to do? Once I understand what you're trying to do, and because of the experience I have over the last 30 years, being on front lines, connecting with people, selling products, services, whatever it may be, podcasting, interviewing. Like I actually did a calculation the other day. I've had over 7,000 meetings in my career.
Wow.
Like approximate. I don't know every one.
Yeah.
But I had to think about like how many people have I been in front of? How many audiences, and that includes everything. It's not just one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Whether I was in a boardroom or whether I was on a stage, I counted that as, a place where I was communicating. And when you're in front of that many people, you get a sense of things. Mm-hmm. I get a sense of the word, the room. I can tell the energy. I'm very empathetic, and so I can tell what's happening energy-wise. It's funny. I can't hear very well on my left ear, and I think it was just a lot of clubs that I went to when I was a kid, to tell you the truth. Hate to admit that, but, really loud.
Yeah.
I love to dance. That's just one thing when I grew up. I just love to have fun.
That's awesome.
And I was generous with my friends, and I think that's where I really learned to put people in a room, is because I was kind of the conduit to everything. Mm-hmm. And even still today, I have friends that are just in different groups, met each other because I brought them together. And I did a lot of that as a kid, but I couldn't hear. So I actually learned how to read lips. Not really well, but well enough to understand that if I saw someone across the room saying something, I'm pretty tuned into what they're talking about.
Wow.
So that's just a secret. I don't really tell too many people that. So don't talk about me when you're in a room, or I'm going to know. No, but I can tell.
Man.
Yeah, exactly. Just do what they do in football. When they're playing, they're making a play. You just sales, connecting, learning. Listen, personal development is the best investment you'll ever make in your life. I don't care if you want to be in that property or real estate, if you want to call it, or you want to be in the stocks or Bitcoin or whatever it may be. Put the money into yourself and learn to be around people that are going to lift your spirit, because, we are promised that we're going to have turbulence in life. Yeah. The book of James is a good book to read.
Yeah.
And if you really want to know how to navigate, read that book. Just read that book. I'm telling you. For me, it was like this thing that was just like, whoa. We're promised that, but we're also promised so many other things.
Yes.
We're in fact, probably know better than me, Rich, but I think we're given 700 promises. So yeah,
use them.
So yes, use them. So going back, I was a prodigal son. Did it my own way. Did it all, and I made a lot of money, and I also lost a lot of money. Because I didn't have that. I didn't have that foundation that I have today, and that's Chris, the reason why I wanted to get baptized again, is to have that beautiful foundation.
Amen.
Yeah.
So the book of James, one of my favorite lines we talk about in the Christian Capitalist extensively, is James tells us to be doers of the word.
Yes.
And it seems to me that your networking with a cause event is headed in that direction, right? That's what you're trying to do. But a great consultant once told me, the best question to ask is, what you trying to do? So what you trying to do? What you trying to do? So what you trying to do with networking with a cause?
I think it's a great funnel for people to come in, and I put on an annual event. Analog's coming back. People want to gather. So I think the more and more people that come in and see what we're doing, as a consultant, and I have some partners, they'll come to the big event, and that's the one where I bring, great speakers from my network. I deal with a lot of really great people. I've worked with a lot of great people. So I can call them and say, hey, we're having this event in, Destin, which is a small town. Yeah. And then I love mixing them with the people that are here, and putting an opportunity for someone who's not a speaker. I put people on the stages here that are not speakers, but to give them an opportunity to feel like what it would feel like to be in, that situation.
And if last year's meeting was any indication, always have a great message.
Yeah.
So the Networking with a Cause event is weekly. Tell us a little bit about that. We'll put notes on this in the show notes.
Sure. So it's 3:30 to 6:30 every Tuesday at Stock and Brew.
I love it. It's like office hours with you.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And it's an opportunity to come in and, I always meet and greet new people that are coming in, but there are now the regulars. The regulars are showing up. And it's funny because, it takes my time, but I wanted to give back that time, to people that need help, and people need help in their business. And one of the things that I love doing is just giving them ideas, or listening to their ideas and giving them feedback. One of the things that's missing from most people, if they don't get coaching or consulting, is they don't get feedback. And especially owners, business owners, they typically hold all that heaviness because they don't want to go to their employees. They don't have that conduit in most cases unless they have some C-level, executives. But even still, the CEO of a company doesn't go to the rest of them and say, hey, I'm dealing with all this stuff, right? Because right. It's a way for them to be able to, talk openly. If it's one-on-one, of course, with me, and then I just give them feedback.
I love that, Chris.
Yeah.
And it sounds like now that you're developing regulars, the people are starting to think of each other as peers.
They are.
And it's a great way to learn and exchange.
Well, there's business that, is getting done as well. People are partnering up. People are helping them. People are getting hired to work for people, through this. So I think it's just a great way to get to know people.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
And so if you're from other parts of the nation and you have this in mind, all you need is a beautiful place, somebody who's willing to stay a little overtime, coffee and cookies. It's a match made in heaven, and a great list of people to invite.
Well, and you'd be surprised. Most people don't ask. They won't ask anybody. And I went to Michael. I sat him down and I said, hey, this is my idea. What do you think? Mm-hmm. He said, I love it. Let's do it. That's cool. If I didn't ask, you'll get 100% of, no every time if you don't ask. Right?
Exactly. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So, Chris, a couple of times you've mentioned in our talk today as we wind up that you've got a big annual meeting coming up. It's called the Level Up Conference. It's usually in the fall. Mm-hmm. And I thank you for saying that. I really enjoyed having a panel of 5 very diverse people. It was a lot of fun to manage that or facilitate that, I suppose, last year. Tell us about this year's conference. When is it? Where's it going to be?
It's going to be October 14th, 15th, and 16th at Shoreline Church here in Destin. It'll hold 500 people, so we're really looking to push. I've got some secret, hooks that I'm going to announce soon that will get that 500 people in the room. And again, we're going to bring opportunities for people to focus around money, marketing, and mindset. Again, that's the 3-legged stool for any business or entrepreneur. Right. Mindset being, the emphasis, because, if Napoleon Hill said it best, and I think, if anybody hasn't read that book, Think and Grow Rich, which was really handed to me when I was 16 years old. When I read it, I was like, wow, my mind has so much power. The mind, by the way, is a horrible master. Horrible master. But it's an excellent servant. So from my point of view, I learned really easy to be able to control my thoughts. Mm-hmm. Emotions can make you go wild. We're all emotional beings, of course, and I certainly had my days, but I learned how to actually use my mindset, because if you can conceive it and you can believe it, then you will achieve it. And that's Napoleon Hill right to the T.
I love it. Oh, that's
great. So
great.
for me, it was like, okay, if I can conceive it and I can believe it, back to your true potential, if you can believe it, and it's all about our beliefs, we're limiting beliefs keep you where you are. And you will never grow in the comfort zone because nothing grows there. So you have to get uncomfortable. And, you have to put yourself in a situation where you maybe haven't done it before. Listen, I got on the radio. So I got offered a radio gig during COVID. Huh. And I was like, dang, I've never been on the radio. I've been podcasting for a couple of years by then. But I'm like, radio is different because you're on air, you're on, and you can't have a potty mouth. Not that I have one, but right. you got to be careful about a lot of things, and you have a time frame. So we had 3 sets, 11 minutes, 12 minutes, and I had, with commercials and everything else, I have an hour show. And, I was like, well, let's just try it. Let's just go. So my very first show was actually, I named all my shows. Okay. So I'd get on the air, welcome everybody, and I told everybody, this one is going to be called Embracing the Suck, because it's going to suck. I'm not a radio guy. I don't know what I'm doing. And I literally opened up that way. And I think a lot of times you have to have that attitude where I'm probably going to suck, but that's the only way you're going to get better.
Right.
is to suck first and then get better.
If you don't try, you're just going to stay at that level.
Yeah, so getting out of the comfort zone is a really important thing. I think people need to realize that if they're comfortable, they got to get uncomfortable to actually get where they really, really want to go. And that's a good indicator. I think a lot of times if it scares you and makes you excited at the same time, it's probably a good thing to go do.
Right on.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, especially when it comes to business and to charity. So, Chris,
sure.
Thank you so much for your time today. Those were fantastic words of wisdom for us to conclude with.
Sure.
But any last thoughts about networking with, well, I should say, networking with a cause? Is there a specific cause that y'all are embracing?
I'm glad you asked, because this year I changed and I opened my first nonprofit, 501c3, and it's called Level Up Emerald Coast. And all the proceeds that, and profits that we collect are going to children.
That's great.
To help them, realize some of their goals and things that they want, and to start them early. I got a great opportunity when I was a kid, and I just think that's the time to give them gifts, gifts of opportunity, ideas, entrepreneurship, if that's where they want to go. So that's really where I'm putting a lot of emphasis on my kids as well as, the kids around, because we live in paradise, but there's a lot of problems, and we can fix them.
Yeah.
But you got to get hyper local to do that.
Yeah.
So this year we're going to get hyper local and help, make some changes.
That's awesome, Chris. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And of course, anything we can do to help, we will be working on that with you throughout the course of the year. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I have some plans for you for October, so. Don't worry, I haven't asked you yet.
I was going to say, we'll get to that, right? Maybe one day at Stock and Brew.
Yeah, exactly.
Chris, thanks so much for joining us. God bless you and all the work that you're doing.
Hey, listen, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
You've got a new book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about your book.
Absolutely.
Just a few minutes at least.
Yeah.
So what led you to write? Well, first of all, tell the audience. Now I'm the host.
Right, we're switching.
Tell the audience, what your book is called.
Yes. So my new book is called Tools of the Bible, and it's all about the tools, the craftsmen, and materials that are mentioned in the Bible.
I love that, first of all, because it gives people ideas of, the crafts that they may have that are similar, like being a carpenter, right?
Exactly.
But tell me a little bit about what's happening. Did it get released?
Yes, we just launched it. Today is June 9th. We just launched it yesterday on Amazon on June 8th.
Okay.
And knock on wood, things are going very well. It's as of this morning, the #1 new release on Amazon and top 5 bestseller. We're shooting for #1 bestseller.
Okay.
And I want to say, not only to our audience, but to you as my friend and the folks here in the studio with us, that the goal of being a #1 bestseller on Amazon is not to fuel my ego, is not to pump up our little publishing company, but to glorify God through that spotlight that you get when you're a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Because the subject of the book is how people used tools and materials to glorify God for thousands of years. Everything from the temple in Jerusalem to David's palace and Solomon's palace to very simple things like a certain boat on the Sea of Galilee, where 2 guys used to fish all the time before Jesus called them into ministry.
I love that.
All of those were built by tools and all used to glorify God.
The fishermen of men.
Yes, exactly.
Love that. That's great. So what's happening with what's next after that?
As I was just telling my friends Maya and Debbie this morning, we are, social media is something that can really be in many ways positive and kind of reinforce not only Holy Scripture, but the way that people can grow through Scripture. So our social media campaign for Tools of the Bible is going to feature me not in golf shirts and shorts, but in work boots and cowboy hat and blue jeans.
I love that.
Because we're going to a lot of construction sites, we're going to a lot of farms, we're going to a lot of ranches, and just talking about people today who use the same tools or types of tools that were used in the Bible, but in much different ways, but ultimately for the same purpose. We build, we live, we grow, we nourish. It's all kind of the same thing. Human history is evolving, but we still have fundamentally the same needs. At the end of the day, a plow's got to plow the field in order for you to grow a crop. Just
I love that.
Different technology.
Tools of the Bible, everyone. So get your copy.
Yeah.
Amazon.
Available on Amazon and through our website, goodworksmission.life.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks,
Love
Chris.
that.
I appreciate you asking me about
Hey, like I didn't forget. I think you forgot.
that. I totally forgot.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate you doing that, and there's a purpose behind that. It's to help build the kingdom, and someone had to do that.
Exactly.
But one question before we end, where did it come from?
Yes.
I'm so glad you asked. So my grandfather was a very gifted craftsman and a very devout man of faith. He read the Bible 28 times, beginning to end, and retired from the railroad, where he was a carpenter and then a diesel mechanic, the Western of Alabama Railroad, after 50 years on the job. We'll tell you about that in just a second. But over the course of these 28 times that he was reading the Bible, because he was the kind of guy who had a shop in his garage, fairly you would say his garage was a workshop, that he said, I'm interested in tools. So I'm just start writing tools down every time I see them. Right? This is in the days before the internet or where you had your Bible on your phone. Mm-hmm. So he's just reading through, marking it down, and then over time developed a list that include not only tools, but the craftsmen who used them and the materials that they used. Mm. Chris, I didn't know about this until his funeral. My Aunt Charlene, my mom's younger sister, she came to me and said, well, you're the pastor in the family. We thought you would want this. And it's the folder that included his notes that he had typed up. But it was a very simple list, book, chapter, and verse, and the tool. And she handed this to me and said, well, here you go. And I said, Charlene, this is fantastic. You've just given me the idea for my next book. That was 5 years ago. I was still writing Christian Capitalist. I was still kind of researching and putting pen to paper on that. But I knew this was next because it's such a tremendous effort on his behalf. And so I think it would be fair to say that he wrote the outline and I just finished it up. But it's a terrific little book. We made it 5 by 7, so it'll fit in the back of your jeans pocket, fit there on the workshop bench. And each tool, each material, each craftsman is 1 page long. We have a little illustration to show people that a hammer that you buy at the hardware store today is not what it looked like then.
Right.
But to give people this conception of what tools in the Bible and the materials and the craftsmen they use. And Chris, I got to tell you, the process of writing this book has been fantastic.
I love that.
So educational. In my arrogance, when Charlene handed this to me, and I said, wow, this is easy. Hammer, everybody knows that's going to be Noah and the ark, right? Guess what? You go read the book of Genesis, it doesn't mention the hammer or nails. It just says it's in this many cubits long. You're going to make it out of gopher wood, and nobody knows what gopher wood is because that's the only reference in the Bible to it. Scientists still debate what kind of wood that is. You're going to build it this many cubits, this many decks. It's going to be made out of gopher wood. You're going to cover it with pitch. And that's it. And that's something, no hammer, no nails. Wow. Who knows if he even used them? It might have been literally an airtight model.
Could be.
So I've just been so blessed to be able to write this book and thrilled to be able to publish it yesterday.
I love that.
Yeah,
Well,
so thank you for asking.
Yeah, congrats on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us today on the Christian Capitalist Podcast. You can follow us on social media. If you like this episode, please like, tag, and share. And of course, you can always learn more about our mission at christiancapitalist.life. And you can find a copy of the book, Christian Capitalist and Tools of the Bible, as well as our kids' book, You're a Child of God, at goodworksmission.life. I'm Rich Sanders, your host. Thank you for joining us on the Christian Capitalist Podcast, where the more we make, the more we give.